SmartB Sports Update Podcast is brought to you by Optimum CBD. For all your rest and recovery needs, CBD products are your best bet. Go to optimumcbd.store to order now. Free delivery on all orders over $99. You must be over 18 to order. I use Optimum CBD products personally for my rest and recovery. I train 6 days a week in Jiu-Jitsu, as you've probably heard on the SmartB Sports Update Podcast. I teach, I train, I compete. And without Optimum CBD products, I wouldn't be able to do it. Optimum CBD for all your rest and recovery needs.
Hi, Dan. Did you have the most fun ever last night watching the Bulldogs defeat a team of not even New South Wales Cup, like Mounties under 20s 5th grade team? Like three guys that like don't have pictures on or profiles on NRL.com.
Yeah, afternoon, John. Yeah, look, it was always, and I did do a column on it on our website yesterday. It was always going to be. I think it put the Bulldogs in a difficult position, that scenario, because it was a no-win situation. And you know, look, to be honest, watching the game, they probably should have won by more than what they did. Only a 24-point win. But this was always going to be the issue under this scenario. No matter what margin they won by, people were always going to say, oh, well, they should have won by more. Yeah. If they had won by 30, people would have said they should have won by 40. If they had won by 40, people would have said they should have won by 50. So this was always the problem. A loss would have been catastrophic. It would have been similar to Grimsby Town beating Manchester United in the League Cup. And I heard Andrew Voss mention that on the commentary. So, yeah, a loss would have been front page news. So they were under serious pressure. All that having been said, if you had come to me before the game and said, would you take a 24-point win? I would have taken it.
Yeah, well, I think like the biggest, oh my God, I can't believe it, etc. criticism that you're talking about I saw was, how did they let those guys score a try against them?
Yeah,
there was no way to win. Like honestly, you're right.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous scenario. I was talking to somebody like if you remember a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year. I can't remember. Panthers have a history of doing this as well, though.
Yeah.
So it's not a new. No, they've never done it as this badly.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year, where there was a contest for the minor premiership, and they named a bunch of debutantes and nobodies, and it was all they were playing on like the Saturday or something, and I think it was Melbourne was playing on the Friday, and then we all knew, well, if Melbourne doesn't get clinch the minor premiership, then tomorrow Panthers will play their top team.
Yeah, and
that's what happened that time. And then there was one in recent years when they've been on their run where it was the same kind of deal. Like they had 10 players out rested. And I think they won that one as well. I was actually talking to someone yesterday before the game saying, Bulldogs could actually lose because Panthers do have a habit of pulling this nonsense out of their hat when, during Origin when they're ridiculously long odds to win because all their players are in Origin, they still managed to win. But then you looked at, like he said, look through the team though, man. This is just too much of an extreme. I can understand even it was 8 players, but it's 16 players. It's just beyond ridiculous. 16 players, bro. And he actually, it was really funny because he said also, I thought it was a top 30 squad.
Yeah.
How do you arrest 16 players and still have 16 players to replace them? Because 16 plus 16 is 32.
Brad Schneider, who replaced Nathan Cleary at halfback last night, he was the only player who was in the 17 for that thrilling loss they had to the Raiders the week before. He was in the 17 for that game. He didn't actually take the field, but he was in the 17. He was the only player in the 17 for the loss to the Raiders who was also in the 17 for the loss to the Bulldogs last night. My issue with what Penrith did, look, I think it's a smart idea when you think about it. Look, that they going into the game, they basically they had very little chance of making the top 4. It was one of those mathematical scenarios that was never going to happen. And they knew that their top 8 spot was guaranteed, so the thinking was, well, we may as well give everyone a rest. Yeah. But look, my issue with it, though, is, even though it gave my team a leg up and they got a win that they needed because they needed to lock in their top 4 spot, And that's why they'll be thankful for that, because their top 4 spot wasn't secured until that win last night. Now it's locked in. That's the Bulldogs' first top 4 finish since 2012. But my issue with what Penrith did last night was I don't think it's fair in terms of the draw that some teams get to play a second-string Penrith team like that, whereas other teams have to come up against a full-strength Penrith. And we've got the same scenario, and I'll just point out for our viewers and listeners that we're recording this on Friday afternoon after the Bulldogs-Penrith game, but before all the other games in this round. So there's not a whole lot we can say about the other games in this round for that reason, because I believe this will be going up on Monday. Probably, and, by the time you're watching it, those games will have all been played. So no point talking a lot about it, but one thing that I think I can say is the Roosters are going to do that in their game against the Storm. The Storm are going to do that in their game against the Roosters.
They rested Harry Grant, Kamika Mika, Xavier Coates, Josh King, and Elisa Katoa.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. Not really fair that the Roosters get to play a weakened Storm side. The same way it's not really fair that the Bulldogs got to play against a weakened Penrith side. And I know the Bulldogs were in a difficult no-win scenario, and Cameron Ciraldo said after the game, "Oh, look, I would have preferred to play Penrith at full strength," but in all honesty, it's easy to say that. I don't think that that's true, because they needed a win to secure a top 4 spot, and Penrith really did gift them a win. So, that's the situation. I guess in hindsight, I think he'd be glad that Penrith went at full strength, because it locked in their top 4 spot, and he can put that on his resume that he's got them into the top 4.
Yeah, and so they're going to play the Sharks as their final game.
Yeah. And so that's the question now: is, well, what do they do there? Do they go and rest a whole bunch of players? I mean, Jacob Carraz, there's no way he'll play after he got that ankle injury last night, and that's a real concern. If he's out for the rest of the season, that's a huge dent in their premiership hopes, but hopefully that's not too serious.
Yeah, I heard Panthers are probably going to do the same thing next week as well, because it's irrelevant. Like, their outcome of next week is irrelevant, because there is no difference finishing 5, 6, 7, 8. They're going to finish... the Roosters could possibly take 7th spot. And that's it. Which would Roosters could possibly bump the Panthers down to 8th. Yeah. But if the Roosters don't make the 8 and the Dolphins do, then it doesn't matter, because the Dolphins will be 8th and Panthers will be 7th. Yeah. So Panthers being 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th doesn't matter. It all amounts to the same thing, right? If they lose, they're out. Right. And so I heard they're very likely to do the same thing next week.
And again, I will point out that we are talking after the Bulldogs-Panthers game. This ladder is obviously going to change over the weekend. And by the time you're looking at the ladder on Monday when you're watching us, you'll be looking at the ladder after round 26 with only one round to go. So the ladder that you're looking at will be different to the one that we are looking at right now. But, I mean, the issue, though... the only issue, though... Penrith aren't going to care if they have to play against Cronulla, because they're a Sydney team. But the issue is, though, you wouldn't want to have to go to Brisbane to play the Broncos, though, in the first week in a knockout semi. That's one pushback I'd have on Ivan Cleary's theory of, what does it matter? It matters in the sense that there's a big difference between playing Cronulla in Sydney and playing against Brisbane at Suncorp Stadium in a knockout semi in the first week of the finals. So in that sense, there is something to, that is something to think about. I would not, there's no way I would want to go to Brisbane and be playing the Broncos in a knockout final in the first week.
But if you're the Panthers, do you care? There's a lot of clubs that would think like that. But
if you've got a choice between Cronulla in Sydney or Brisbane in Brisbane, you take Cronulla in Sydney.
Yeah, I just don't think the Panthers, out of every team in the comp, I don't think the Panthers think like that. I think they have that real arrogant bug where they just don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, either way, they're going to have to win 3 games. It doesn't matter who the 3 games are. It's an arrogant kind of way to think where they just think they can beat anyone. But that's actually kind of also a better way to think. If you want your team to think. But I don't think the Panthers game position like that. I think they just game top 8 finishes. Top 8 finish doesn't matter who you play. Either way, we have to win. Broncos are also all over the shop.
They are. They are. It's more just if you've got a choice.
But
which one would you choose?
Other clubs,
That's
I think.
for.
Every other club, like literally every other club in the competition, would be thinking like you're talking about. And if it was the Dragons, I would think like that too. Like I want to play the Sharks.
Yeah,
but
if,
I just
if that
think
was the Bulldogs, right? You take Cronulla in Sydney over Brisbane any day of the week.
Out of all 17 teams, I think Panthers are the only ones who don't think like that. I mean, like even Storm with Craig Bellamy, they think like that, even though they are and have consistently been probably the best team across the past 20 years. They think like that. But I think a lot of the Panthers' entire attitude is fully like that. Like, bro, it doesn't matter who we play. We're going to smash them anyway, and we've got to win all 3 games anyway. So we really don't care. They just want to finish. Either the way they figure it, like seem to think of it, is they either want to finish in the top 4 or the bottom 4, and they want the money for the coming first. Or the bragging rights for coming first. If they can't come first, then it's top 4 or bottom 4. Either way, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where I finish. I'm not looking at the other teams. But again, like only the Panthers would think like that. Whether it's a better way, they haven't been in this situation for 4 years.
A long time.
Like they haven't been in this situation where they're in bottom 4. They haven't been in this situation. Like they haven't been in the situation where no matter. Like, if you lose, you're out, right? They've had... It's for all 4 of theirs, they finished top 4, yeah?
I would think so, yeah. Because, they did finish top 4 in all 4 of the premierships, yeah.
They haven't been in this situation where they should be really thinking about this kind of stuff.
And even the year before where they lost the grand final of the Storm, they still won the minor premiership that year. So, we got to go back to... that's going back to 2020. So,
so I just think
it is a foreign scenario.
And so that's what, I think out of every team in the comp, they don't think like that. But I think actually out of every team in the comp, there's someone they're the team that should be thinking like that. Like, we really want to avoid the Broncos here. We better work out a way to avoid the Broncos.
Yeah, I just would have thought, it's just... I would have thought, that's a big factor to me.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't control what happens after that. You just got to be taking it, 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're playing knockout semi-final football. But looking at that, there's a huge difference between playing Cronulla in Sydney and Brisbane in Brisbane for mine.
The Rangers...
Put it this way: if Brisbane were to play Penrith at Suncorp. And this may not play out like this. I don't think Penrith will finish 8th. I don't think they will. But look, hypothetically, if Brisbane were to play Penrith at Suncorp, I'd be tipping Brisbane to win. If Cronulla were playing Penrith in Sydney, I'd be tipping Penrith to win. Yeah, that's my opinion.
I think so too. That's what I mean. Like they should be thinking like that. I just don't think they are, and that's probably going to be. That could very well be where they fall down. They could just not care and be like, "It's all right, we'll smash Brisbane," and then have to go up to Brisbane, even though Adam Reynolds is injured or whatever, and get smashed by Brisbane, and then afterwards they'll sit there and go, crap, we should have really gamed the system and tried to get the Sharks, because even if it's most likely going to be the Roosters at this point. It's highly unlikely the Dolphins are going to be able to get there. They have to win 2 and the Roosters have to lose 2. Yes, the Roosters have to lose 2. Roosters will play tomorrow or whatever it is. And if you're the Roosters, you want to play the Sharks. Yeah, that way they'll at least make it to week 2. Yeah,
the Sharks are the team in the bottom half of the 8 that you'd want to be playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the Roosters will be knowing that. And so with the Roosters will probably be, like Trent Robinson and the Roosters, like I said, out of 17 teams, there are 16 teams that will be thinking like that. Mm-hmm. So Trent Robinson and the Roosters will be sitting there going, man, I hope like the Panthers do it and end up 8th and have to go to Brisbane. So even like the Panthers thinking like that, would give boosts to other teams. Whereas when you're if you're sitting in the Broncos position, who do you want to play as well. You like think like that. Would you prefer to play the Panthers or would you prefer to play the Roosters to make it through the second week?
But maybe that's... And Ivan Cleary was quizzed on it in the press conference after the game. He was asked, well, are you going to do it again next week? And he said, look, we've got a plan.
Yeah, I heard the plan is to rest.
But maybe that's something they'll need to think about. Maybe, maybe that's sort of like a play it by ear depending on other results and the scenarios that await them in that last round.
The Panthers could very well take 6th as well.
Yeah.
It's possible. They could actually take 5th in theory if the Broncos lose
you just want to be avoiding that Broncos.
Yeah. So there are still so many scenarios. Yeah. Like I said, the Roosters are... if you got your percentage chance of making the 8 thingy, like the Roosters are probably like 95% chance of making the 8, and the Dolphins.
The only reason that I didn't bring it up today is because by the time the round ends and people are watching this, it will have all changed.
At this point, it's still possible for the Panthers to be 5th, 6th, and 7th. So that could also be a factor in what you're looking at. They're not actually thinking about it right now because they could still finish 5th or 6th. But who knows? Yeah, like it's the ground's still that to be played. Broncos are going to play.
That's the thing.
Cowboys.
By the time people are watching this, the round will have been played, so those percentage chances will have all changed by then. So there's no point in me.
I just think the Roosters are definitely going to make. Roosters will definitely be 8th. I don't see the Dolphins. They're going to win against the Titans this week, and then next week have to play. Far out. The Raiders. They're going to play the Raiders next week. So.
But you don't know which team of the Raiders are going to put out next week. We don't know.
I would think next week, surely leading into the finals, they would want to be fielding a close to full strength team, regardless of who they're playing. All clubs. Except the Panthers.
There's been examples of teams resting a whole bunch of players.
I know the Storm have done it. I know Storm have done it before.
So we'll see what happens there.
But it depends on who you're playing as well. But I mean,
depends who you're playing. Depends what your scenario is going into the last game. It depends what's riding on it for you. If you can afford to drop a game and rest a bunch of players, well then you'd be considering it. If you look at the Bulldogs. They're pretty much just going to finish 3rd now, so that's an option for them in that game in the last round against the Sharks. It's an option for them to rest a whole bunch of players because there's nothing riding on that game for them now.
So Warriors win 2 and the Bulldogs lose next week, then the Bulldogs will come 4th.
This is the thing. The Bulldogs are either going to be 3 or 4, and look, there's not much difference.
There's really. No difference at all. You don't get any prize money for coming 3rd or 4th. And you have to play the first or second team at home.
So, it's just about who would you rather play, the Raiders or the Storm?
Yeah.
Probably rather play the Raiders.
In Canberra?
Yeah. Or so your choice is Raiders in Canberra or Storm in Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm going Raiders in Canberra.
Given that choice, it's because the Raiders they're not a big game club. They don't have a lot of big game experience.
They're certainly not the Storm.
That's the thing. I know it's this is not a good choice to have, Raiders in Canberra or Melbourne in Melbourne, Storm in Melbourne. But given the choice, I think I would choose Raiders in Canberra.
The Warriors are in the worst possible position out of all the teams in the 8 because either way they're going to have to travel. And whichever team ends up playing the Warriors, you have to say the Warriors. Like at this point, you would tip against them because they're going to have to travel to either the Warriors, notoriously bad travellers, travelling to Canberra or Storm. I think it's irrelevant. We can say all we want. Like who would you prefer to play? But if you're the Warriors, it's totally irrelevant. Both of those teams are going to be heavy favourites against them because it's the Warriors having to travel.
Yeah, so that was the issue for me with what Penrith did was I don't think it's fair in that some teams get to play B-grade Penrith and other teams have to play Penrith at full strength. And, there was some sort of solutions thrown up, and one solution that was thrown up was, well, should they do what the AFL are doing and have a week off at the end of the regular season going into the finals? I've said it before, though, the issue with that system, with the AFL system, is if you have that week off at the end of the regular season, and then the teams in the top 4 who win in the first week of the finals, then they get another week off. So then you run the risk of being too underdone going into these games and having too much time off. That's the issue I've got with the AFL system. So I don't know if that's the solution either. Because you shouldn't have a system that disadvantages top 4 teams that win in the first week of the finals. System should be an advantage to them. It shouldn't work against those teams. So I don't think that I don't like how the AFL do that. I don't like it how they have that week off at the end of the regular season. Because it puts those teams at a disadvantage, those top 4 teams that win in the first week. They get another week off and they're too underdone going into the prelim. And it brings them unstuck in the prelim final. And it could cost them a premiership, those teams. Because they haven't had enough of a run.
Yeah. There's no matter what solutions are being thrown up, none of them are real, actually. Because in reality, the teams are allowed to pick whoever they want within the thing at any time.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where there's probably nothing you can really do about it.
No, there's not. That's what I mean. Like, the NRL or any sporting organisation can dictate you must name your best possible side. Sorry, man, they're injured. Yeah. And, who determines the injury? The club doctors, the club physios or whatever. So if the NRL says, write us a report showing they're injured. I think we talked about it last week. Everyone is always injured. Every athlete is always injured. So you'll be able to get like a legitimate doctor or physio to say, yes, this guy does have an injury. He does have a grade 1 sprain in his... I guarantee you every single rugby league player has a grade 1 sprain in their rotator cuff at all times, 100% of the time. Especially the Bulldogs who go to the Panthers who go to do wrestling, because that's a very common wrestling move. They would all have like small sprains in their knees, all of them in their ankles. So they would just justify it. No, they're injured. That's it. They're injured. Sorry. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, do you still have the Bulldogs in your grand final?
Yeah, I still do, yeah.
Think that'll happen?
I think either way it goes, I think that it's going to be Storm Bulldogs in the grand final. So you prefer to go play the Raiders in Canberra than you play Storm in Melbourne. And I think, either way, if Bulldogs win or lose the first round, I think they'll win the second finals week and the third. Either way.
The thing that worries me is I'm worried about Melbourne and Canberra in that first week winning their first finals, both of them, and then both having home prelim finals.
Oh, that'll suck.
That's my, as a Bulldogs supporter, that's what I'm worried about here. I'm worried about if those two teams will be the top 2. So I'm worried that they win. They'll have home finals in the first week. I'm worried that they'll win those home finals and then get another home final in week 3. And then I think it's going to be... I think if Melbourne and Canberra win in the first week of finals, I think it's going to be really hard for anyone else to stop those two teams being in the grand final. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to... And I hope that you are right and I am wrong. But I'm going to have to disagree and say, well, I'm going to half agree with you. I think the Storm will be in the grand final. Yeah. But I think the Raiders will be joining them, I'm sorry to say. I hope the Bulldogs are, of course, and I hope they win the premiership. But that's my fear is Melbourne and Canberra top 2, they win their first final, home prelim finals, and then I think they're going to be really hard to beat in those week 3 home prelim finals.
It's, what's it called? If either of them lose, Storm or Raiders lose, if one of them lose, then the Bulldogs will be able to go through. But I think
if the Bulldogs the Bulldogs will be playing either the Storm or the Raiders away in week 1. Yeah. On the other hand, if they can pull off that upset in week 1, that changes the game. Yeah. If they can do that, then they lock in a home prelim final, and I think in that scenario, I'd be favouring them to get into the grand final. So there's so much hinging on those week 1 top 4 contests.
Yeah. It just comes in where they get to play, right? But no matter what, okay, so it's the other way that it could not be Bulldogs and Storm in the grand final for me is if the Bulldogs and Warriors swap spots, which at this point is possible. Okay, again, we're recording on Friday, so If the Warriors win the next two, and the Bulldogs drop their next one, then it can't be a Bulldogs Storm grand final.
Yeah. That's the thing. The Bulldogs, your Bulldogs Storm grand final prediction, obviously, is conditional on the draw and how everything plays
absolutely.
out.
Yeah. So with
that's the thing. We don't know. It's like when we make predictions who's going to win tennis grand slams, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about a pecking order. We haven't gone through the scenarios and if this team finishes here or. It's just a pecking order conversation that we're having.
I think regardless of it, the only way it won't be a Storm Bulldogs grand final is if the Storm and Warriors swap spots.
You mean the Bulldogs and Warriors?
Bulldogs and Warriors swap spots, which is highly unlikely. Highly unlikely.
You'd have to think the Bulldogs would be third at this stage.
Yeah. And the coaching merry-go-round has started, by the way.
Yes. It's been a very eventful week, you can say that.
Man
again.
alive. Adam O'Brien has left the Knights, right? And according to him today... Was it today? Yeah, today. Yeah. Like he left yesterday or the day before?
I think it was yesterday.
When
he came
it all
out
melds together to me.
Yeah. It feels like it's been a long week, this one.
And then today's articles were talking about how he was the one who approached the Knights and said it's time for me to go. We've been talking about Adam O'Brien since his podcast started 2.5 years ago. Yeah. How he walks that knife's edge of... he's made the finals. What is it?
I've got it here. So, they made the finals in 2020, 2021, 2023, and 2024. So he made it 4 times in 6 seasons.
That's not a bad hit rate.
But as we've talked about, they've only actually won one finals game, and that was that elimination final where they beat the Raiders in 2023 in that extra time game that they won.
Yep.
So that's the flip side. Yes, it sounds good. 4 finals appearances in 6 seasons sounds, very impressive. But he only won 1 finals game. Yeah. So it was the scraping in and making it look like they were going better than what they really were.
They were all congruent on Kalen Ponga playing a lot of games and playing really well as well. The Knights have been that.
Well, that was 2023, right?
Yeah.
So Kalen Ponga got him an extra 2 years of employment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think the main reason he's actually gone to the club and said, I'm out, is because they were going to come middle of the ladder, not middle of the ladder in 8 to 12 or whatever, middle of the bottom 9. They were going to come middle of the bottom 9, but they've been on a massive slide. And, the Rabbitohs have leapfrogged them, who were fighting for the spoon. The Eels
and
have
had $8 million worth of injuries.
Yeah, the Eels have leapfrogged them as soon as Mitchell Moses came back. And so now, again, it is possible, actually... Well, there's a lot of percentages at the end of a rugby league season, right? It is possible for the Knights to get the spoon. And I think he sees that writing on the table. It's now between the Titans and the Knights for the spoon. It's not that no one else can get it. It's now between the Titans and the Knights, and the Knights are relying on the Titans to lose 2 and the Knights not to. That's it, actually. They want the Titans to lose 2. If the Titans win 1, then the Knights have to win again.
Yeah, because the Titans have a better differential. And look, it's close. It's close. The Titans are -201, the Knights are -220, so it's close. But at this stage, and again, talking before most of the round, you're watching us after the round, so it could change. But as we're talking, the Titans have a better differential than the Knights.
Yeah, so he's probably looked at that and gone, we need the Titans. The only way we're 100% avoiding the spoon is if the Titans lose both matches. If they win 1, it's not likely the Titans will win 1. We'll get to why in a minute. It's not likely, but if they do, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone to him and said, "Look, I'm done here." He's gone in and pulled the pin. It's probably the right decision. He had 2 years left on his contract, but he said he didn't want to go through the whole, he didn't want to go through the whole, I'll start next season, and then every week he's under pressure with every loss. They're saying, is he going to get sacked this week? He's just gone, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, he's been doing that for years. That's the thing, right? He's been doing that for years, and I guess he's just.
I guess, given that there's wherever they finish this year, it's going to be a very poor finish. Given their very underwhelming season this year, well, that pressure that, as you said, has been there for years, would have just gone up another level as a result of that. Did
they name a replacement?
Yeah, so that's a good point of discussion. Originally Blake Green, who's their current attack coach, he was touted as being the man to take over, but we've since learned that it's actually Justin Holbrook, the former Titans coach, who's actually now the favourite to take over from Adam O'Brien, and he's actually got the endorsement of Mal Meninga. So I find it fun. I know Mal Meninga's an immortal of the game and everything.
Thanks, Mal.
I find it funny how he's going to be coaching another club soon, and they've gone on his endorsement. But anyway,
yeah. Bill, my taxi driver, also said Justin Holbrook. Like, both are just as relevant as each other. Justin Holbrook was one of those ones. Like, that's what the Titans are, right? It's for years they've been this one where it's like, well, they also had Neil Henry, I think, was a coach of the Titans too, right?
Yeah.
So they've had a few of those coaches that were new, big. They were the next super coach, like John Cartwright. Garth Brennan, was that his name? Yeah, and Justin Holbrook was the other one. And Titans screwed their career. Every coach wants to coach, but it's just... the Knights are another one of those ones that, like, it doesn't matter who the coach is. The club as a whole needs to change. And I know Justin Holbrook wants to coach, but going into the Knights, who are... a basket case, he's going to have had two clubs like that.
I guess the difficult thing is it's hard because they know, they know that with Dylan Brown on a $13 million Powerball contract.
That's the other thing.
Whoever walks in there, they know that they're walking into a minefield here, and so that means, it's like anything. If there's an unattractive job, well, you're not going to get the best candidates, and it's no different with NRL coaching. The Newcastle Knights head coaching job is an unattractive coaching job. So that means that your big names are not going to go near it. And so you're going to have to settle for people like Justin Holbrook or Blake Green. You're not going to be getting... The big name coaches are not going to touch this gig.
Yeah,
and you can't blame them.
Yeah, and it's really hard because everybody gets fired in rugby league because every team goes... The coaches who leave... get fired, right? It's very
most
rare.
of the time, except for Adam O'Brien, who went to them and said
he was getting fired, left on his own terms. The reason you get fired is because your team sucks, unless you're Des Hasler, right? I think he's the only coach I can remember who was basically sacked or walked out after a grand final win while doing the parade.
But I think with Hasler going to the Bulldogs, that was more. Like that was more his initiation.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if he wanted to stay at Manly, he would have. He'd won 2 premierships.
I always thought that he actually left because he knew all the salary cap backloading he'd done, back-ending he'd done was coming to a head.
But all I'm saying is, if he wanted to stay at Manly, he could have. But
but like, and then as a coach, an inexperienced coach or a Justin Holbrook or something, they're the only coaching jobs you can get. But it just sucks, it sucks for them because he's not. No one is going to have faith that Justin Holbrook can walk in and fix the Knights, man. Like, and
probably not, but you'd feel the same way about Blake Green, though.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. It sucks to be them because they're the only jobs they can get.
Yeah.
Right? They can only get the Titans or the Tigers or the Knights. And then they go, or the Dragons. No, not the Dragons. They've renewed for Shane Flanagan. But they're going to go in there. They're not going to be able to do anything. The team's still going to suck. Justin Holbrook's stuck with this $13 million Dylan Brown contract, this massive contract with Kalen Ponga, a bunch of aged players like Tyson Frizzell, a team that's got one of the most passionate supporter bases in rugby league, in a town where you can't walk down the street as a rugby league player or a rugby league coach without getting feedback from the randos you walk past. He's going to be under intense scrutiny in a team that's, come on, like, I know Knights fans are super passionate and everything, but a team that's very likely to suck next year. And he's going to have his 2 years. Well, he's probably going to sign a 3-year contract because they always sign a 3-year contract.
Again, we don't know who the replacement is.
Whoever it is.
At the moment, Holbrook is the favourite, but Blake Green is also.
They always sign a 2-year contract, but then they walk into this schmozzle and they walk out. They get fired after 2 years. It's hard. What they all really like. The best possible outcome for one of these new coaches is actually to be under Craig Bellamy for 5 years as an assistant and then have Craig Bellamy retire and hand you the club.
Yeah, that's he never retires. Yeah.
That's what you really want, but that doesn't happen. When has that happened in recent times where a successful coach has retired and handed a team over to the assistant in good stead? It sucks to be a rugby league coach. I can understand why guys are like, nah, I wouldn't do it, man. I wouldn't do it. If it's Justin Holbrook, I wish him all the luck in the world, man. Like, maybe he'll be able to turn it around. But the Knights are just in this really crappy situation with a $13 million Dylan Brown and a Kalen Ponga that takes up another, 1.4?
I think so,
yeah.
He's the highest paid player in the NRL.
So he's another 1.4, who's entire, and then a bunch of other dudes. What did Mason say in the spine? You got Kalen Ponga and 3 dudes who I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, you had to go at Tyson Gamble.
Yeah. And so Adam O'Brien's out, finally. It was always expected every year. And as it happens, every single time a Knights coach leaves, the media approaches Andrew Johns and Matty Johns and asks them, are they going to be involved in rebuilding the Knights? Are they going to be involved in fixing it? Are they going to be doing anything? And Andrew Johns has unequivocally said, God, no.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if either of them wanted the job, they'd get it.
Yeah.
If Andrew Johns hypothetically walked into the club and said, I want to be the coach, it's all right, done. If Matty Johns walked into the Knights and said, I want to be the coach,
yeah, I think Matty Johns would be able to walk into almost any coaching job, actually, given his reputation. Andrew Johns less so, because Andrew Johns does have a bit of a reputation of being a little bit too much hard on his sleeve type thing, and he hasn't had the clear-cut success that Matty Johns has had as an assistant coach. But yeah, they could just walk into the Knights and they'd be like, yep, you're in. And Matty Johns, I think if he walked into pretty much any club, they'd be happy to. But they don't want to do it. Matty Johns is one of those ones that knows, I'm not going to do that. Andrew Johns wants nothing to do with rebuilding the Knights or fixing the Knights.
But don't you think... That's the thing. No one's really saying, look, you have to be the head coach. He could help out a bit. He could be like a consultant or something. He just it was just the way he was talking. How he just said he was on that podcast. I think it's called Freddie and the Eighth.
Yeah.
Wide World of Sports do. I don't watch it very often. It doesn't appeal to me. But anyway, everybody's different. And he just flat out said. It was Danica Mason asked him, look, I know... She even said, look, we know you don't want to be a head coach, but would you help out with the rebuild at all? And he just said, no, I'm living in Sydney now. I haven't lived in Newcastle for 18 or 19 years. That was what he said. He said, I've moved on. And he sort of go, yeah, all right, look, that you can do that if you want, right? You can't force somebody to help. But it's like, gee, you just shut the door on your former club like that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like a club that's given him a lot. All right, he's given them a lot. I know that. I know he's an immortal. I know you have to always qualify it whenever you criticise an immortal. You have to point out that they're an immortal and say how great they are all the time. I get that. But I just thought... Well, he didn't even say that he loves his club or anything. He just said, oh, no. I've moved on. It's like... At least say, oh, look, I'm not really interested in helping with the rebuild, but I love the Knights and I hope they succeed. But he never says that, No. You know what I mean? He's very...
No, I think he's been burnt by it, man.
He's very stubborn.
I think he's a grudge-holding, egomaniac,
He seems like it.
Didn't talk to his brother for years because his brother made fun of, talked Queensland up. And I think he was burnt by the Knights. It's over all the Nathan Tinkler stuff. that long ago, and he's been holding the grudge for that long, and he's just not. They've been through 48,000 rebuilds as well. Like you said, he could have said he obviously clearly loves the Knights and they're his favourite team and everything, but he does never add that caveat on the end. But I just think he's smart enough in rugby league to know there's just no point in helping actually. You look at what we talked about. You're gonna have Justin Holbrook, who was, at the Titans and a failure, possibly as a favourite right now, or Blake Green, who's never coached before, with an ageing roster and Dylan Brown and Kalen Ponga. What rebuild can anybody actually contribute to and help anyway? What can you do at the Knights to try and help? And I think Andrew Johns is smart enough to know that it's I don't want to give my time to that, man. I just feel that'd be a waste of my time.
The Dylan Brown, the 10-year Dylan Brown deal, the $13 million Powerball deal, is that deal that could set them back for 15 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's a 10-year deal, and then you got to rebuild after that.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is he could have phrased it much worse as well. He could have actually said, I'm not going to get involved in that. Look at what nonsense they're currently in. Nobody can walk in there and help with the rebuild. It would be a complete waste of mine and anyone's time. Because in reality, when you look at the Knights next year and you see their roster for next year, so they've got, who have they signed? Dylan Brown. Doesn't matter who else they've signed, right? Because they've signed Dylan Brown on so much money. They've got Kalen Ponga there on $1.4 million a year deal. Andrew Johns has constantly been in this thing about how change it. He always has the criticisms of where to play Kalen Ponga and all that kind of stuff. Actually, and then the team they have Bradman Best. Right, he's a what is it called? State of Origin winger. He plays State of Origin, right?
Yeah, he has played State of Origin. Yeah, but it's with Andrew Johns, it's sort of would he even help mentor a young halfback that they got there or something?
If he got paid,
just something like that. Does Andrew Johns want to be their last great halfback? Is he happy with Newcastle? He retired 18 years ago and Newcastle haven't replaced him. Is he happy about that? So, is he happy to be their last great halfback?
Look, they're losing next year. Even the people they're losing, it doesn't matter. They're losing Jaden Brayley, Paul Bryan, Brock Gratian, Riley Jones, Jai Lenane, Kai Pearce-Paul, Will Price, Sebastian Sewer, and Leo Thompson. Leo Thompson's going to the Dogs. Leo Thompson, pretty good signing for the Dogs, right?
And they need some...
Yeah, they gained is obviously Dylan Brown, Peter Hola, Asu Kapoa, and Pasami Solo. And then they've re-signed Matt Croker. How old is Matt Croker now? 137? Tyson Frizzell, Dane Gagai, Fletcher Sharp's a good young re-signing, I guess, but they got this aging roster, not across the board, but they've got a bunch of players. I know there was a whole thing about Dane Gagai wherever, what is it, Ricky Stewart?
Yeah, Ricky Stewart said they should re-sign him, and then they re-signed him. And there was a fan petition for the Knights to keep Dane Gagai, and
he's 34 years old. Okay, and he's signed.
I think you're in trouble when the fans are signing players.
Yeah, does anyone want to walk into that? And like I said, if I was Andrew Johns, could have been so much worse. I feel so bad for Justin Holbrook walking into that, man. And if I was Andrew Johns,
he doesn't have to. No. He doesn't have to take the job.
If I was Andrew Johns, I would have. If somebody asked me, you can help with the rebuild. No, looking at the Knights, I'd be like, bro, no one should help with that. Any person in rugby league, stay far away from that one.
He's decided he's not going to help.
That's going to ruin your career for life, bro. Don't touch the Knights. He's decided
he doesn't want to help his club, so that's where it sits.
But he's probably a halves coach at I remember that Matty Johns used to make fun of him and say how many clubs are you a halves consultant for now? Because he was a halves consultant at 6 clubs. Which this is also just ridiculous, for one guy to assistant coach to be assisting at so many different clubs. Really, you think about it. I know he's Andrew Johns, and he's the greatest halfback of all time, one of the greatest players of all time. But as a club, right? Do you want to hire a guy to be a consultant and teach your young halves, who is also working at another club teaching their young halves how to shut down your halves.
Yeah.
Let alone
That's
like
a bit of
five
an
or
issue
six,
working for
five or six
multiple
other clubs, you know, like so. Yeah, he's no matter if you love or hate Andrew Johns, his personality and attitude is always grating. Honestly, always. Even if you love him, he's always got this grating, like grudge holding, egomaniac. Like they hard on the sleeve, passionate. Like he's always had these kind of behaviours. Like when he broke the all-time point scoring record and refused to come onto the field because the Knights got pumped by the Eels. Well, shouldn't have kicked the conversion, mate.
I think he's a really good commentator.
Oh yeah, because he knows the game.
He gives honest opinions. He gives strong opinions, and he calls it as he sees it. So I think his personality is suited for commentary. Yeah, I just would have thought he could have played. You know, it doesn't. Again, nobody's asking him to be the head coach here. It could have just been some small role, like talk to the halfback on the phone for half an hour a week or something like that. You know, just something, anything.
Well, someone's got to go up there and get the Newcastle passion back into him. Yeah. All right, but Danny Badiris will be involved. It's fine. In other coaching news,
yes,
Des Hasler's been sacked as expected.
Yes.
So that'll be his last coaching job ever. There's no doubt that no one will ever hire him again.
No, he's done. Yeah, unfortunately, he just hasn't been able to weave his magic at the Titans. They're sitting in last spot at the moment, as we talked about before. Favourites to take out the wooden spoon, and that was after they finished 14th in his first season, which was last year in 2024. So it just hasn't happened for him at the Titans, and yeah, he's probably just taken on one job too many there, I think.
Well,
but it's like, you know, it's like anything. You don't know you're done until you're done, right?
Yeah, well, he's not going to get another job because he's been sacked or not gone well from his last couple and sued them. Yeah,
well, his second stint at, you know, he had a very successful first stint at Manly, won 2 premierships. A very successful first stint at the Bulldogs, made 2 grand finals. But his second stint at Manly wasn't so good, and he had that whole Pride jersey drama and everything. And then, yeah, this Titans stint has just not worked, so probably just the game passing him by a little bit, I would have thought. But anyway, had a great career, as I said. 2-time premiership winner at Manly in 2008 and 2011. He made another grand final with Manly in 2007, and he had those 2 grand final appearances with the Bulldogs in 2012 and 2014. So between 2007 and 2014, he played in 5 grand finals in 8 seasons. I think that's a very impressive achievement.
Yeah, damn good record. He would have gone down as one of a super coach forever, but it's just that's the way life is. Some of these guys, they just go for too long, and people forget their legacy. It happens in all sports when they start going downhill. But unfortunately, he went to the Titans, and the Titans are a club that I don't care who takes over. They're another one that just doesn't matter who it is. They're not gonna go well.
Yeah, well, so you talk about that. Well, Josh Hannay is going to take over. He's signed a 3-year deal that will run until the end of 2028. He's the current Sharks assistant coach. He's also worked previously as an assistant coach with the Queensland Maroons as well. That'll be the job for Josh Hannay to come in and try and clean up the mess there at the Gold Coast Titans.
In the end, everybody just hopes they're going to get a Cameron Serrato when they get one of these, you know.
Yeah, they're just hoping for the next big thing in the coaching ranks, aren't they? But yeah, with Des Hasler, between 2005 and 2016, made 12 straight finals appearances with the teams he was coaching at Manly and the Bulldogs. So, in hindsight, would have been better off just finishing when he finished at the Bulldogs. That would have been. But it's always the way, isn't it? People go on too long in not just coaching, but in playing. We talked about Rafael Nadal going on too long, Roger Federer going on too long. it's a very common in sport for players and coaches to just go on too long.
It's the hardest part of being a sports person is knowing when it actually is time to quit.
The one that I think about who actually got it right, more so than pretty much anyone that I can think of, would be Shane Warne, because Australia lost the Ashes in 2005. And then they won them back in 06-07. They pumped England 5-0. And he said, I'm not going to retire till we win the Ashes back. And they won them back in 06-07. And they won 5-0. And then he said, all right, well, I'm retiring. So that was the best timed retirement that I can think of in all of sport. Yeah,
so there's Khabib Nurmagomedov quit MMA. But people say he was the... perfect time. He was 29-0, undefeated. Beat basically every single one of the top. He was featherweight. I can't remember. Lightweight. I can't remember what division he was anyway. And Conor McGregor, and then finished after his father passed away.
So McGregor, was that his last fight?
No, second last.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Second last? Yeah, second last.
Yeah, right.
And then he did Justin Gaethje, which was an embarrassment for Justin Gaethje because he was about to finish him with what was it? I can't remember exactly. He was about to finish him with an armbar and decided he didn't want to break Justin Gaethje's arm in front of Justin Gaethje's mum, who was in the audience. So changed to a different submission and triangled him instead. But he was a pretty dominant guy, Khabib. But yeah, but there's many examples of MMA fighters that went on for too long. Like BJ Penn was one of the greatest of all time. He won 2 belts, and then to finish up lost 8 in a row. Anderson Silva as well. He ruined his legacy. He was one of the GOATs and then ruined his legacy, unfortunately, because people don't remember it. And that's what I mean about Des Hasler. People aren't going to remember that he was one of the greatest coaches of all time because of his second stint at the Bulldogs and especially the Titans.
I think did you mean his second stint at
Manly, yeah.
Because he did have success at the Bulldogs. I thought he did well at the Bulldogs to make that grand final in 2014. They didn't have a very good side that year. They didn't have a grand final side that year, and he got them to punch above. I think they finished 7th at the end of the regular season, and they made the grand final. So I thought that was a great effort. That team, I think, could easily have just gone out in week 1 of the finals, but they actually made the grand final.
Minor premiership in 2009, is that with the Bulldogs?
No, 2012.
Oh, it was 2012.
2012 was his first year at the Bulldogs.
2009 was the Dragons stole it, yeah.
Won the minor premiership in 2012 with the Bulldogs and made the grand final in his first year. Then made another grand final in 2014.
Yeah, and he stole the Dragons stole the minor premiership in 2009.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, Milkman, Jamie Soward, bro. Yeah. Jamie Soward, yeah, bro. But Big Tino, who is the captain of the Titans, I believe,
yes,
has come out and criticised the Titans. Now the news articles. It was funny. The news article headlines for this said Tino's come out and said that only 2 people are accountable for the Titans' failings. Mm-hmm. But what he was actually saying was it's ridiculous that only 2 people since he's been there have been held accountable. Yeah. When the whole entire thing, the Titans have been a massive failure for years and years and years. But it was Justin Holbrook, right?
The previous coach. Yeah.
Justin Holbrook and Des Hasler have been held accountable for. The fact that the Titans have just been a terrible squad since they lost their initial team.
Yeah, well, the quote from Fa'asuamaleaui, I hope I got that out.
Yeah, that's why I just say Big Tino, bro.
Yeah. Maybe I should just say Tino from now on. The quote from him was, there's been 2 people kept accountable, but no one else. Yeah. And like you say, he's talking about Des Hasler, who's just been sacked, obviously, and his predecessor, Justin Holbrook. But, I mean, Dan Ganane on Fox actually clapped back at Big Tino, which he's now being called, and mentioned that, well, since the start of the 2022 season, So that's the last 4 seasons. He's only played in 15 wins for the Titans. But we should point out, though, that in 2024 he only played 2 games due to injury. Yeah. So it's pretty much 3 seasons, to be fair. But still, even that's not very... That's only 5 wins a season if you call it 3 seasons instead. So, again, you got to be careful throwing stones from a glass house a little bit here. But that having been said, they've had no one. He's had no help there. They've had nobody. So I think you got to be a bit careful just pinning the whole result on one player here. He's had nobody to help him here.
He's played Origin in that time, right?
Mm.
I got to do a Google search and see if I can actually... Oh, good, you just write Tino and it comes up.
Yeah, you don't have to type it in, thankfully.
Yeah, so he's played Origin in that time. He's played for... So he was in the Titans from 2021. Australia. Played for Queensland and Australia in that time. So I think the criticism of Tino is actually quite poor, because in that team he's been so good that he's been picked for Queensland and Australia, right? It's what he's basically saying is what everybody should say is it's always the coach, right? It's like the Tigers. They went through like 38 coaches, but no improvement. At the Titans, they had John Cartwright, who, rightly or wrongly, was let go. He took them to the finals once, I think. Recruited really well, but then they had the whole money laundering issues, blah, 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 off-field that ruined the club, okay? And then after that, they got Neil Henry, I believe it was, who is a pretty good coach, failed at the Titans. Then after that, went to Garth Brennan, who was going to be...
They've never had a great deal of success, so every coach that they've had has pretty much failed.
And so that's basically what Tino is saying. Yeah. He's been there for 2 coaches. Okay,
and that's the thing. With Des Hasler, you're actually getting someone who does have runs on the board here, and even he's failed.
So Tino is right, and to criticise him, I love the fact that he actually came out and basically put his own team, his own players, and his own management and the club management on blast, because all they do, every rugby league club, we sack the coach. I know you can't get rid of all your players, right? But the Bulldogs weren't going well, and they brought Phil Gould in to fix their attitude problem, their culture problem. And
when we started the podcast, which was at the end of 2023, they were a basket case. They were the worst defensive team in the comp. And in 2 years, they've gone into the top 4 as the best defensive team in the comp.
The Panthers were a bad club, and they brought in someone to fix it. And they fixed it from the ground up, juniors all the way up, and it took time. All that these clubs do, like the Titans and, the Knights and historically the Tigers, just sack the coach and bring in a new coach and think the coach is going to change everything. But these clubs, the Titans, have already done that 4 times, and it hasn't helped. So Tino is right. Like, why is it only these 2 guys are ever held accountable?
And good on him for having the guts to say it. I applaud him. The media have got to be careful. The media can't have it both ways on this. The media want players to... The media want players to speak their minds a bit more. So when a player does actually come out and do that, you got to be careful to just shut him down, because that's what the media... The media are always complaining about, players, they're too cliche, they never say anything, they're muzzled all the time. Well, when a player's actually gone against that and actually bagged his own club here and said, look, this isn't good enough, I'm not happy about this, a media figure has come in and had a go at him and criticised him. So I think the media have just got to be a bit careful of that. Yeah. He's giving the media what they want here. The media should be looking after him if the media want other players to do the same here.
And like I said, the Titans, out of everyone, need someone to kick them up the butt and then bring someone in and just go, this is all of your problems, let's fix it. It's time for the Bulldogs to move Phil Gould on, I think. If they want to take that next step like the Panthers did.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, his job's pretty much done now.
Yeah.
He's set up the pathways. and he's tidied up the first grade roster.
And the salary cap issues they had from Des Hasler. So now it's time for him to go to the Tigers or the Knights or the Titans and fix them from the ground up and turn them around, and then leave, and they can win a premiership without him. Because wouldn't that be hilarious?
That's the cycle.
Yeah, right? Exactly. That's it for Rugby League.
Woke up this morning after 2 hard training sessions. Oh my God, I have so much washing, and boy does it stink! But luckily I have Garame cleaning codes Gear Guard, Clear the Funk, proud sponsor of SmartB. I've tried all of the ones that are around, and they're the ones that I suggest. They leave my clothes after training smelling like nothing. They don't do this thing where they smell like chemicals or flowers, and they don't advertise themselves as being a washing powder replacement. Instead, you add 1 cupful to your laundry, and off you go. Head to garamecleaning.co and buy yours now. Gear Guard is a proud sponsor of the SmartB Sports Update.
But we can talk about the US Open now.
Yeah.
Now, last week, I think it was last week. No, when he pulled out of the Cincinnati Masters, whenever that was.
Oh, the final, yeah.
Yeah, that was last week or the week before.
Yeah.
I was said he had trend cough, and I just had a slip of the tongue. It's trenbolone, not trenbuterol, because he was guilty of taking clenbuterol, blah blah blah, whatever, bro. It's an off the cuff, unscripted podcast, so we make mistakes anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to get. Yeah. That's right.
Jannik Sinner's absolutely thrashed Alexei Popyrin. So obviously his cycle. His trend cough is over, and his cycle is firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, he did unfortunately beat Aussie Alexei Popyrin. Would have been nice if Popyrin had got over the top of him, but not to be. I did find it interesting though that I did see a line that I saw this line from a report which I thought you'd find interesting. Sinner, whose only concern was a blister on his foot that needed treatment at the end of the first set, and I sort of laughed and thought, well, hopefully Jannik Sinner doesn't use a spray to treat the blister on his foot. We know what happened last time he used a spray. He ended up testing positive to closterbol. Well, he didn't use the spray. His massage therapist used the spray to treat a wound on his hand, and then he massaged Sinner, and that was how he became contaminated. But yeah, I did find it funny. Jannik Sinner, received treatment on a blister. I hope you weren't using the spray.
Yeah, one of the cures for a blister is steroids, right? Just take some steroids and you'll heal faster. That's one of the purposes of steroids, to heal faster. So he's got to be careful about what he takes. I wonder if he's even careful. He's trainer's back or whatever as well. So is it before every time? Did you wash your hands, bro? Did you wash your hands?
Can you think of a worse PR move in world sport this year than Jannik Sinner rehiring the same trainer who got him into who caused him to test positive to doping?
So
closterbol.
Is that the last Aussie in the US Open though?
Let's have a look at how the Aussies are faring. Novak Djokovic is through. Carlos Alcaraz is through.
Of course they are.
Let's have a look here. It's a report from 5 hours ago on Fox Sports.
He full pumped Popyrin, eh? Like really smashed him. No doubt, he's pretty good. Jannik Sinner. He's pretty good at tennis.
Okay, so Daria Kasatkina became the first Aussie to progress on what had proven a difficult day 5 at the US Open, highlighted by Alexei Popyrin's loss against Jannik Sinner, which we've talked about. Kasatkina overcame a deficit in the third set to ruin the birthday celebrations of friend Kamila Rakhimova. So well done to...
Good on you. And
well done to her.
Demon Orr's through, right?
Unfortunately, Aussies Adam Walton and Tristan Schoolkate lost. Let's have a look at Demon Orr, how he's faring at the moment. I haven't heard that he's out, so I think that he's still there. Yes, he is. He's won his second round match through to the third round. So awesome. Well done to him. Beat fellow Aussie Chris O'Connell in the first round.
Aww.
So well done to Alex De Minaur.
Yep, so he's still ranked number 8, still in the top 10. He's our top ranked hope.
And as for Novak Djokovic, he's through to the third round. he equalled another record of Roger Federer's most hard court wins in a Grand Slam in the Open era. Roger Federer held that record. That's now been equalled by Novak Djokovic, and so he only needs to win one more match to surpass yet another. That'll be yet another Roger Federer record that Novak Djokovic, I would say, is about to break.
Yeah, he's going to play Norrie.
And you'd think he would get the job.
You have to, they're really scraping for records now, aren't they? Come on, man. Can you just stop?
Can Roger Federer at least keep one more record?
He'll always keep the record of just add Swiss before it. Record holder he's got the most wins on a hard court Grand Slam Swiss for a Swiss person.
He's still got the most Wimbledon. He's still got more Wimbledon titles than him though. Federer's got 8. Djokovic has got 7. So
you
still got him there, but I think that's about the only record he's got him for. That's left. I think Djokovic has broken all the others.
Djokovic probably won't get that one, equal that one.
No, I don't think. I think Federer will have that one over him at least, if nothing else.
That sounds like if you're having an argument over whose dad could beat the other guy's dad. Well, I've got Wimbledon over you. Okay, bro. Let me wheel out my giant board of records that I have over you. Dude.
Yeah, you can't win them all, can you?
No.
Djokovic pretty much
Djokovic.
Can. But as for everybody else, you can't win them.
Yeah. And then the South Africa actually demolished Australia in the ODI series. They had a very disappointing showing, Australia.
Yeah. I mean, they saved face in the third game, even though it was a dead rubber for the Aussies. They won by 276 runs. Which was quite extraordinary. It was actually the total that Australia made in that third ODI, 2 for 431. That's actually the second highest.
Amjad Khanch.
That's actually the second highest Australian men's team total in ODIs. As I said, 2 for 431 versus South Africa in Mackay 2025. The highest was 4 for 434 against South Africa in Johannesburg in 2006. So, second highest men's ODI team total for Australia of all time. It was also notable because Cameron Green scored the second fastest ODI 100 for an Australian man in an ODI off just 47 balls. So that was quite incredible from Cameron Green.
I don't think South Africa tried in the third one.
Well, maybe not, because there's more records that went. Cooper Connolly took 5 for 22 in that third ODI. And that's the best bowling figures by Australian spinners, an Australian spinner in a men's ODI.
Yeah,
there you go, a record-breaking third ODI. But as you alluded to, South Africa had already won the series. South Africa won the first 2 games of the series. And so they won that ODI series 2-1.
Yeah, I just think they didn't try.
Probably not. They probably went out drinking the night before to celebrate, and they were probably hungover.
Yeah, that's thing like, sweet. Now we got to go do a holiday in Australia. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for the weekend. We were meant to do Mitchell Pearce today, but actually he had to go to hospital because maybe he's having a baby. So congrats and good luck, Mitch, and hope everything goes. But he said he'll be able to schedule for next week if we're able. So we'll work that out during the week, right in time for finals.
It'd be good to talk to him actually before, because we'll have. By the time our next podcast is on, we'll only have one round to go before finals, so it'd be good to get his thoughts on how it's all placed.
You'd have to say at that point the finals will be set as well, as we've gone into length here.
If they're not set, they'll be very close to it.
And so, don't forget Optimum CBD for all your CBD needs. Let me just rotate that a bit so you can see the words Optimum CBD. And Giga, so optimumcbd.store. You have to be over 18 to order, and orders over $99 get free delivery. And of course, for all of your cleaning, make sure you use Gigard by Garame Cleaning Co. Honestly, I add it to all my washing these days because I just train so much, and my kids were like, our towels smell like vomit, and it's actually dirty sweat from my jiu-jitsu kids. But adding Gigard has saved my marriage and my relationship with my children. So GarameCleaning.co. Get your gear guard if you train in any sport. And that's it for the week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, John. We'll catch you next week.
Okay.